Welcome back. And so Jeffrey already did the setting out. And to join us on this conversation, we have Dr. Thomas Wilson Ikubeshe. He's a convener, Yes We Fit Revolutionary Movement and former presidential aspirant. He joins us virtually from Akure in Ondo State. And I like the name of your movement, Yes We Fit, another for Yes We Can. And also joining us is Mr. Iwuji Namdi, a public affairs analyst who is right there in our Abuja studio. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us on the program.
Thank you.
So I'm going to start with Dr. Ikubeshe. There's so much to reflect on, but let's look at the gale of defections. We've seen that of the former governor of Delta State and his predecessor move to the APC. And now, following the resumption of the National Assembly, we've seen a gale of defections from the PDP to the APC and from Labour also, Labour Party to the All Progressives Congress. So when you reflect on this, combined with the decision of the PDP governors to challenge the state of emergency, rather, in Rivers State, to challenge it in court, how convincing is that move? And what do you believe to be the overall impact of this defections ahead of the general elections in 2027?
Thank you, Bukola, and good morning, Nigerians. The rates of defection that we are beginning to see over the past couple of days, which we are going to be seeing more in the coming days, is basically because of the 2027 election that is coming. Of course, politicians want to retain their office, they want to come for a re-election, so they need more votes. And the more you have at the presidential level, for instance, the more states you have belonging to your party, the easier it's going to be for you to eventually win a re-election. So that's what we are basically seeing. But for me, beyond the defections from PDP to APC, I think the first question I really would want to ask, if I ask you now, Bukola, what is the difference between the political ideology of APC and the political ideology of PDP? Can you tell me? Jeffrey, can you tell me? Kayode, can any of you tell me that if APC governs a state, these are the things we expect that they will do differently from when PDP governs a state? There's no difference. So for me, I really would have wanted to see governance rather than politicking. You see, when you vote for a particular political party and that party comes into office, what we should see should be governance. Politics should be secondary. But what we are seeing here is a situation where politicians get into office and they relegate governance to the background and play politics for the entire time. Now, look at Abia State, for instance. Everyone will agree that Governor Alex Otti is doing fantastically well in Abia State. Mark you, he's not doing well because he's in Labour Party. The same Alex Otti was once a member of APC, he was once in PDP, he was once in ABGA. Today, he's in Labour Party. So he's doing well, not because he's in a particular political party, but because he has an agenda of leadership, because he knows what he wants to go there and do as a governor, because he believes in performance, accountability, and transparency. So I'm not excited that people are moving from PDP to APC. I'm not disenchanted either that we are going to have a one-party state. How many party state is Rwanda? How many party state is Burkina Faso? So for me, governance, true leadership, accountability, transparency is what is important to me. But unfortunately, our politicians are more interested in, making sure they get into office and they do everything to retain power and to circulate themselves in office without facing governance, which is the reason for which they are voted. So I'm interested more in governance than in seeing our politicians recycle themselves in office.
Point you've made there, and I'd like Mr. Namdi to take it up from there. While you're doing that, perhaps you also want to speak to that absence of dividing ideological lines between both parties and how it's impacting on development, or if you like, the lack of development that we're witnessing. Mr. Nnamdi.
Yes, thank you so much. As you have mentioned, the issue of leadership accountability is the key factor. But today, what we are seeing is lack of accountability. And when there is lack of accountability in leadership, that today has eroded public trust in government of the day. That, because of lack of accountability, that is what is fueling all this crisis in Nigeria. Today, what you see is about corruption, it's about insecurity. Some of these political leaders, what have they done to address this issue? But what they focus on is about their own personal political interest, and they abandon the issue of governance, and which is a problem today. If I may ask, from some of the stories that have just been heard, we are busy arresting people for spraying naira. But you agree with me that since 2007, there are some former governors that their trials for corruption has not been concluded. As such, that will make the citizens not to have confidence in governance, in political leadership, in government of the day. So my advice is that we should make our political interest secondary, not primary. Governance should be the primary action. Like we have heard about what is happening in Abia State. It's not all about Labour Party. It's not all about PDP or APC. It is about the individual. What do you have? Accountability, sincerity. Our leaders should do their best to boost the confidence of its citizens in the administration. If I may add again, you campaigned for this office. You worked for it. You convinced Nigerians to vote for you. And you are voted, and you come into the office, and you begin to personalize governance. You abandon the system. You focus on your own personal interest. Today, you agree with me that Nigerians honestly have lacked confidence in our leaders today because of lack of accountability. Thank you.
All right, let's go over to Dr. Kubeshe. And you've tried to run for president before. You were an aspirant. And I know you talked about your experience and all of that. Today we have people who have been elected into positions, people who have been appointed. As much as we could talk about 2027, we also need to talk about where we're at least the journey to that point. Some will say, but 2027 is still far. What is the guarantee that the average Nigerian will see at that period? So we've been at this journey trying to retool government, trying to troubleshoot it. What is wrong? We don't put the right people in power. Okay, we need to fix the systems. Oh, we need to have stronger institutions, not strong individuals. We need to fight corruption. Now we need to ensure our resources work for us. So it's almost like we're still under construction as a nation, and that's understandable. But what is a low-hanging fruit for you, if that is appropriate right now? So maybe we can at least focus on that. while we're building up to 2027 and say, okay, we're fixing this, then 2027 comes, hopefully we get the right people in power, and then we continue from there. So is there any low-hanging fruit that we can look to, at least to fix right now?
Yeah, you see, is we are putting the wrong set of people in government. And we're expecting them to deliver what they are not programmed to deliver. You want someone to get pregnant, and this person is a male. Males don't get pregnant. Pregnancy is achieved by females because females have been designed for pregnancy. So we have a set of people in political offices who do not have the interests of the people at heart. We have a set of people whose primary interest is to enrich themselves, enrich their children and children yet unborn, and satisfy the earnings of the people that put them in power and their political, cronies. Those are the kind of people that we find in power. Now the question is, how did they get there? So the issue here is the first thing that we must do is to make political offices unattractive to political thieves. That was part of my manifesto in 2019 when I was running for the office of the president. And some people felt it was too harsh, but that is where to begin from. And how do we achieve this? The National Assembly. For instance, I did mention then that we should have a single term of 6 years, non-renewable, because what we have at the moment, 4 years, first instance, 4 years, second instance, you realize that out of the 4 years, we spent just about 1.5 years in governance. The remaining years is wasted politicking because we have politicians who are voted into office, and the first 1 year they are trying to settle down. By the second year, they start governance. By the third year, they've started politicking. Fourth year, pure politics. Look at the administration of the present presidency, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. We are going to be 2 years by 29th of this month. Politicking has started, full blown. And that is going to affect governance. So the first thing we must do is the National Assembly needs to come down and give us a system that works. Amendment of the Constitution so as to make political office unattractive. I talked about the fact that, one, we should have a special anti-corruption court whereby if you have a case of corruption brought against you, within 6 months, the case will be determined. And what is the penalty? Life imprisonment without an option of fine, removal of immunity from political office holders in cases of corruption. Where you have civil cases, civil litigation, fine, there could be immunity, but cases of corruption, there should be no immunity. You come in, you are docked, you face the law, within 6 months, no frivolous adjournment. You have your penalty, life imprisonment, without option of fine. I talked about the fact that every month we should have publication of the income and expenditure of governance. That way it becomes difficult for anybody to manipulate everything because you are going to post it. The same way that EFCC have posted a statement about VDM yesterday, every state, every parastatal of government, we post their income, we post their expenditure on the social media platform. Nigerians will see. It becomes difficult to manipulate. So those who are not interested in governance will not even go near. That's when you begin to see people like retired teachers, retired headmaster, they will come and start running because those are people who are ready to serve. Okay? Now, I talked about the fact that the money that is spent in obtaining expression of interest form should be as minimal as every average Nigerian should be able to afford. Why would you be asking someone to come with 100 million naira to pick up a form and the person goes in there and you expect him not to steal? Because those who can afford to do that are those who want to go back and recoup their investment.
All right, Mr. Kubese.
Instead of talking about Natasha, sexual abuse, they are not doing what they should be doing. These are the things they should do, and when they incorporate this into our political laws, then we'll only be able to attract those who are ready to serve and not those who are ready to steal.
All right, let's take it to Ms. Nnamdi. Ms. Nnamdi, I want you to speak to literally all our institutions, our security agencies, our judiciary, INEC, suffering from crisis of confidence in that sense.
But we're seeing action by the National Judicial Council, because in their last release, when they reprimanded 3 judges by suspending them and putting them on watch lists, they said henceforth the names of persons or candidates being considered for appointment as judicial officers to superior courts of records will be published for information and comments by the public. And I got the details of some of the people that have now been listed for promotion, so that every person who has any information that this person is not qualified to be appointed to Superior Court can now go. So we're seeing action from the judiciary as to how they want to rebuild confidence in the citizens. Whether that will work or not is how it's executed. So let's talk about INEC, for instance, which is where a lot of challenges are. One of the challenges people have raised is to how the INEC chairman is appointed. His tenure is going to end, I think, in December. Professor Mahmoud will be leaving office, and there's going to be another appointment. The review has not been done in terms of reforms, so, pass it through NJC as recommended, I think, by Justice Uwais and all of that. But going forward as we approach 2027, what do you think this government can begin to do? Because we haven't seen anything, frankly, in terms of electoral act to rebuild the confidence in that. And what can they do if they're interested in rebuilding confidence of the people in the electoral process itself?
Yes, thank you so much. First thing first, to begin to do institutional reform. That is the first thing to do. Like you have just mentioned about the issue of judiciary. The appointment of INEC chairman, if we want to get this thing right, we have to take out the powers of appointing INEC chairman from the executive. You recall the issue that surrounded the Edo election, whereby it was alleged that the REC in charge of Edo related to a senior government official. That alone has eroded the public confidence, trust during that election. So these are the issues that we have to start to work on. Institutional reform, strengthening the institution as against strengthening the leadership of those institutions, whereby you appoint incompetent people to mount this institution. For instance, in INEC, you were appointed by a commander-in-chief. How is it possible that you will do, you will just be fair in conducting the election? So by the time we begin to take action by reforming this electoral process, this whole process, I think we'll begin to get it right. Again, on the issue of insecurity, coming 2027, how can you even do this election whereby citizens are being slaughtered? They are in Plateau, they are in Benue. So why is it that we don't have the technology to tackle these challenges? We have it. Like my colleague have just said about the laws. Yes, we have all these laws, but implementing it is a challenge. That is why we have to start strengthening the institutions to get it right. Judiciary have taken a step, so I also expect the National Assembly to start taking a very strong step in reforming the electoral process, because this electoral process we have in place today cannot give us the good governance we are looking for, cannot give confidence to the citizens. So we have to start reforming it by strengthening these institutions. My own personal opinion, to take away the appointment of the INEC chairman from the executive. Again, obeying the processes. For instance, in this issue of cyber stalking, you see today where the statutory institutions are looking at Cybercrime Act to arrest people, and you know that our constitution is there for freedom of speech. So which one is these institutions following? Are they following what is of their interest, or are they following what is the process? Are you telling me that as a Nigerian that I'm not entitled to freedom of speech, whereby I express my feelings as a citizen of the country? It is you as a government that's supposed to work to listen, getting the feedback from your citizens. Tomorrow I will be arrested for cyberstalking and all that. You look away from the constitutional provision that gives me the right to express my views. So by the time we start strengthening these processes, I think it is when we'll begin to boost the public confidence in the system.
Well,
Thank you.
Mr. Nnamdi, many Nigerians would agree with you on that one. And regardless of efforts made by the judiciary, the latest poll by the NOI is judging that, you know, some Nigerian institutions are the most corrupt, i.e. the judiciary, National Assembly, and the police. So, well, the government has a job of work to do in terms of reforms. We must thank you very much, Dr. Thomas Wilson Ikubeshe, the convener, Yes We Fit Revolutionary Movement, and a former presidential aspirant. Also joining us on this conversation is Mr. Iwuji Nnamdi, a public affairs analyst who joined us from our Abuja studio. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time on the program.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And from a state of the nation, we move to another concern, perhaps even bigger. It has to do with what is on your table that you consume. So stay with us for some informative tips coming up after this time out. We'll be right back.